Yeah, hang on. I'll adjust it.
I forgot to give you the thumbs up, didn't I?
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to call to order the Board of Education special meeting for April 8th, 2013. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Brady.
Here.
Mrs. Capabianca. Here. Mr. Cavallero. Mrs. Roma here. Mr. Kisco.
Here.
Mr. Marola.
Here.
Mr. Nergy.
Here.
Mr. Rivero.
Here.
Mr. Tebow.
Here.
Mr. Traub.
Here.
Mrs. Batchelder. Here. Mrs. DeMonico. Mr. Jocelyn.
Here.
Mrs. Krakow. Here. Mayor Bingham. And Ms. Woman.
Thanks. Okay, school community session, public participation. The board invites members of the community to speak on topics to be addressed in the agenda or on other topics of interest. Individuals wishing to make comments are requested to fill out the speaker sign-up sheet, including name and address, which must also be stated at the beginning of your comment. The board will not allow comments regarding specific staff members or personal grievances. Courtesy is expected in this limited public forum. Participating time will be limited to 3 minutes per person and 10 minutes overall. Mindy Scott, first on the list.
Hello. As some of you may or may not know, this is my first year involved in this process, so I've tried really hard to reserve judgment until the end of this process, which we're now getting to. And I gotta tell you, there's some significant issues that have to be addressed. It can't continue like this. First and foremost, the budget needs to be transparent. It needs to be transparent to you guys, it needs to be transparent to us. As parents, our perception is our reality, so what we're perceiving is happening, being on this side of the room, is what we believe is happening. If we don't feel that things are being done honestly and truthfully, we can't support the board, and vice versa. We shouldn't be on opposite ends of the room, we should be on the same side. These are our kids. You know, I'm sure most of you have kids. That perception just can't be there, and that's been every week since we've been doing this in February. So I wanted to start with that. That's first and foremost. To me, as a business owner in this town, when I'm doing my budget, not only does it need to be outlined, but I need to make sure the people reading it are understanding, you know, what it contains. So as a suggestion, maybe for next year or going forward, when the budget's handed out to the parents, if we could possibly put those mandate, I'm sure they have codes or something, you know, with the state, so that we know as parents, this is something that can't be cut. This is something that's mandated to the Board of Ed, non-negotiable. Another huge issue that I have is, and I don't mean this to sound rude by any means, but I've seen the salaries for some of the department heads within the Board of Ed. They're very high. They should be here every week. Every week I feel like there's questions about specific, whether it be programs or departments, and it's always, well, we'll check with this one, we'll get back to you. We'll check with that one, we'll get back to you. They should be here. On Wednesdays, I don't see my kids at all. I work in Hartford, I leave Hartford, I come here, I get home at 10:30 at night. I don't even get to see my kids, and I'm obviously not being paid to be here. They should be here every single week. We're talking about the same things every single week. And the last thing that I'd just like to bring up is the CNA program. I have not been quiet about the fact that I don't think that this is a good year to put that in. However, I was willing to lose that fight, you know, can't win them all. But I just think that, again, perception by the talks that have happened, we've talked about how many cuts have been done at the high school. So to now say, we're not gonna fund it, but if the high school can work it out, you know, they can put it in. As a parent, again, perception does not look good. I know when my boss says something to me, Indy, I'd like to make sure this happens, I know what that means. That means it better happen. So I just feel like, as a parent, what's going to happen is the kids are going to go on summer vacation, parents are going to stop paying attention for a second, enjoy their kids, and the curriculum's going to get changed. They're not going to know till September, and it's going to be a huge issue. That's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Gary Trout.
Good evening. Let's see, you probably know what I'm here for. If not, I'm Jerry Traub. I live on 82 Sycamore Drive. I'm a 79 graduate, THS, and I have two kids that graduated from here. My son is a junior at Columbia University, graduated in 2010. My daughter's a freshman at NYU. She graduated last year. And my son's a sophomore here at THS. I'm here to represent and support the boys and girls swimming teams. Sorry I couldn't be here earlier over the past month or so, but it's March Madness for swimming also. And I've been at championships, etc. My wife Lisa is the president of POST, Parents of the Swim Team, and they do have an excellent parents group. I don't know if you people know that, but they have a very supportive parents group, very strong. Just a few things on the swim team, some accomplishments, maybe to make it feel better is, I'm going to read them off. This is just in the past 5 years, both the boys and girls swimming teams, 38 all-NVL swimmers, 14 all-state swimmers, 4 All-Americans, which I'm not sure if you know, but that's the top 60 in the country. The girls been NVL championships 3 times, 31 individual NVL event champions, 4 NVL record holders, 4 Class M state individual champions, 23 state open event qualifiers, and 2 state open event champions. And all this on 7.5 hours of practice or pool time and a few hours of dry land. They've got some great coaches here, as you probably know, Andrew Marchand, Aaron Sullivan, Katie Block, Tim Driscoll, Steve Schapp, and my late sister-in-law, Lisa. But anyway, they teach, respect, dedication, and that hard work does pay off. They bring in all kinds of other sports, kids that play other sports, soccer, football, track, tennis players. They make good and sometimes great swimmers out of them. And all the kids get to participate. Academic-wise, again, the past 5 years, there are 2 valedictorians on the team, 2 academic All-Americans, and 2 Connecticut Scholar Athletes. The colleges that were attended are Denison, Towson, Keene State, Springfield, Columbia University, NYU, Bryant, Brown, Wesleyan, Maryland, UConn, Southern Connecticut, Boston University, Wheaton, Dartmouth College, and Union College. Sorry if I left anybody off, but one swimmer in each of the last 3 years went on to an Ivy League school. Just a little bit here about my kids, because I know the most about them, but one of those kids happens to be my son, Eric, who's a junior at Columbia, and quite frankly, obviously swimming helped him get in there. His academics had to be there also, AP courses, etc. I think they've done a great job here, personally. Also, to their credit, Columbia beat, just a little sideline, they beat Yale first time in 20 years, and this year they beat Princeton first time in 30 years, so far so good. My daughter Krista, freshman at NYU, again, she had an excellent year, 2 school records, and for your people's credit, or here, the teachers, etc., 43,000 applications NYU received, and it's the most private schools have received in the country for 3,000 spots. And, she was one of the lucky ones to get in. Us paying for it, not so lucky. But that's okay. That's a good thing. And Matt, my son Matt's had a pretty good year so far. Actually, state open qualifier, and he's done very well. And colleges are already starting to contact us. So I guess basically, well, a couple other notables that are alumni. Kenny, yourself, and Mayor Ryan also. And I think they've done pretty well themselves. In closing, I just think we need to ask ourselves if and when the time comes that why would we want to cut or limit a successful program like this? I don't think we do. I think people are trying their hardest not to. But if it comes to that, hopefully you'll look elsewhere and remember these things that I talked about tonight. So if anything, I think that they deserve more practice time. Of course, that's my opinion. Anyway, thank you for your time, and if the time comes, just try to make the cuts elsewhere. Thank you.
Good evening, Kathy Pearson, 445 Lorraine Lane. First, I just want to say thank you to the Board of Ed members. I've been here with you every step of the way. I feel your pain, because it is painful. I want to agree with Mindy on the CNA program. I think when you give carte blanche to a school and say if you can cut whatever you need to cut to get this in there, it will go in there. And I believe that we will come in September and it will be there. I have done research on CNA. With a CNA degree, you can only go work in a nursing home or possibly a visiting nurse. You will not work in a hospital. They have other criterias that you have to pass. So you can get your CNA, but you're going to work in a nursing home or possibly visiting nurse. Most visiting nurses look for 1 year of acute care, which is working in a hospital. At this point in time, I do not support it. I have talked to so many parents at THS. The parents that have told me, the few parents that have told me that they actually filled out the survey said they put technology. I would love to see the survey because I put no bones into a monkey survey. Mr. Traub, you could go to every computer in the building and take that survey. It has no substance. I've heard 26 parents filled it out. I've heard 17 parents. I don't know what the actual number is. But every parent I have talked to said that they wanted to see technology, Microsoft, Excel, word processing, even medical records would get kids jobs when they graduate. Not the CNA. That's a very select group of students that can take that. And that's what I have to say about those monkey surveys and that CNA program. Sports. I find it, I'm going to speak as a parent right now of kids that played sports, because we do in soccer have a huge, strong parents group. We work very hard to raise money for our kids to have a banquet and for the kids to get a sports award. I don't think that as a parent I would do that and turn my money over to the athletic director for two reasons. One, football's the only one with a freshman sport. Two, they have a full load for freshmen and JV. Soccer, 2-3 years ago, freshmen cut out, JV limited. So as a parent, why would I fundraise when I don't feel at Torrington High School there's equity amongst the sports teams? But as I said, I'm just speaking as a soccer parent. I want to address the theater, because some comments were made last week that were, to me as a parent, 6 years in the theater group at THS. I have a theater major son who is actually working for pay right now, and I put it all on Mrs. McGarry Mrs. Demachi, Mrs. Jerem, Amoroso now, Mr. Legier, these people who get a stipend like everybody else who does National Honor Society, Key Club, they all get stipends. It's not just theater. The hours they put in, the hours the kids put in, we haven't taken an April vacation in 6 years because we have theater and sports. To single out the theater, I can't even think of the word. It was, I don't know why it was, actually I really do know why it was singled out, and I think it's wrong. There are over 30 kids in the Godspell play coming up. These kids work every day after school, every single day. They do weekends. And the theater is almost empty for every single play. And it's sad. My last and final thing is I'm going to address one more time the Yukon classes because I can't seem to get anyone to focus on these. The Yukon AP classes, we do have 33, but they're only offered once a day. That limits all those classes to 25 kids. I get extremely upset sitting in the audience listening to how our kids in Torrington are not all college material. We can make our kids college material. We should be making our kids college material. Just because we have a high rate of poverty does not mean that those kids are not college material, and that's where we should be focusing on right now. There are ways to get these kids into college, and maybe if we had a stronger guidance council that could help these kids find the scholarships. We have community college within, you can take a bus to the one up in Northwestern. I, as a parent, find it offensive to continually hear that we have to address our kids because they're not going to college. They should be going to college, and shame on us for not helping them get into a college. So the Yukon and AP courses are being taken away from the high-level learners. I find it offensive when I get an email from somebody saying, well, you know, if you look at Naugatuck and Bristol and Middletown, you know, this is Torrington, this is not Middletown, this is not Naugatuck, this is not New Britain, and this is not Bristol. If we are focusing on becoming those towns, then this is why we are losing people. Tonight, I hope that I don't see one teacher cut, because that's going to ruin our NEAS. Everything that NEAS told us to put in place is slowly being taken away. And at some point, they're going to catch up to us, and we're going to lose our accreditation. And then it won't matter that we have a football team. It won't matter that we have a swim team. It won't matter that we have Yukon classes, because we won't have anybody to support our budget, because we'll be a city of senior citizens. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. See if I do it right. We need a motion to reopen the tabled superintendent's proposed budget discussion.
I will move that we take the approval of the superintendent's 2013-2014 proposed budget off of the table for consideration.
Second, Chris. Okay. We'll go back into discussion. Fiona.
I would like to move two of the mayor's items out of the mayor's proposed cuts and put them as separate items for the board to consider cutting. The 5563-03 out-of-district prepaid tuition and the 5564 regular ed. Those two amounts are based on proposed mandates, so I don't believe they should be part of the mayor's proposal because they are not increases due to inflation, but rather us planning for proposed mandates. And I think the only way we're going to get the new mandates out in the public's eye is if we do not budget for them and they are not absorbed by our budget.
It's 556101 and 5563. Correct?
Oh, great.
First one's 130,000.
130, and the second is 120.
Okay. On the top,
Yeah, the top,
130.
130. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's a motion to move it from the mayor's.
Well, we're just in discussion of it. We don't have to
Okay.
make a motion to move.
Okay.
We're just gonna, as a group, decide if we're gonna move them or not. We don't have to make a separate motion on it. All right. Put that on there for consideration. If you have more, by all means.
Ellen and I spent an extensive amount of time looking over the special education budget, and we would like to propose numerous cuts to the special education budget.
Okay. Do we have a handout for everybody for the special education budget? Okay, let's put that out there for everyone. Sure.
The next one that's going around is the summary of our entire budget. And I added a column for each of the board members to tally up if they want to keep a running tally as we go through this process tonight.
If you remember, we've had the individual site budgets on the New World format. This is a summary of all the site budgets, turning it into a one budget with the site budgets to back it up. Pages 1 through, I believe it's page 1 through 6 are for the years 07 through 10-11. If you go to page 7, that starts 10-11 through current proposed budget, because the city has asked us for this history timeline to be submitted. So really pages 1 through 6 don't necessarily have any bearing on the conversation tonight unless someone wants to look back to Rick. Okay. Back to you,
Okay. So I'm just going to list the cuts that we'd like to make to the special education budget with their account numbers. In addition to the sped tuition, public DCF that we have on the mayor's cut of $130,000, we would like to take an additional $70,000 off of that. Account number 5561-01.
It's on page 10 of the total budget. And it's on page it's on page 4 of the special education budget. Special education is a long one. The regular budget is a shorter one. The proposal is to take, we had $280,000 budgeted in that item. Last year, or this current year's projected expense is $46,000. The bulk of that is mandates that are in legislation right now. So Fiona and Ellen's motion is to reduce that $280,000 item by $200,000 and put it at double what we're spending this year to give us a little room. And if you look back, it was 113 the year before, so that kind of puts it right in the middle. How does everyone feel about that?
We're talking.
What's that?
We're talking about.
Do we want to just list them all, or do we want to make some decisions as we go down? We can just rule things off, or?
Maybe when we hear the whole
Okay.
proposal, we'll be better able to.
Okay, fair enough. We'll go back and review them as just a list.
Also, special education budget overtime wages for paras, 5130-01, cut that item by $25,000.
5130.
5130-01.
Minus how much for that?
That's on page
Right.
3.
Yeah. Cut by 25,000.
Page 3 at the top of the page. If you look at last year, current year is 0, last year was 0, 2011 was 0, 2010 was 0, 2009 was 0. There's a budget item there for, if I remember correctly, that is for if we have a special ed child that chooses to participate in sports
Sports, after school.
or after-school activities.
Homework center,
Right.
clubs, whatever.
All right, we have not used that line item since 2008. So the proposal is to take that $25,000 off. Okay.
Next item is under special ed, also professional ed services, item number 5320, a reduction of $10,000.
And it's also on page 8 of your total budget and page 3 of your special education budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give a short recap for you, because we're only 2 items in. So, I'll recap those for you when you get settled. And then where we're currently at, Paul, is the small handout in front of you, the 8.5 by 11, is the summary of all of the site budgets put together into one budget package.
Okay.
Pages 1 through 6 are 2007 through 11. If you want to turn to page 7, that's the start of the current cycle. That's on the small packet. The little one, right, the 8.5 by 11.
This one?
Yeah. And the longer one is the special education one, touched up from last week to have some gray areas repaired. Mrs. Capabianca has the floor, and what she's done is gone to page 4 of the special education budget, which is page 10 of the regular budget. She went to item 2/3 of the way down the page, 5561.01, special education tuition public DCF.
Here.
We originally had put $120,000 of that into the mayor's proposed, our overly conservative estimate.
Right.
Fiona has made a recommendation because our current projected year is 46.7. She has proposed removing 200,000 of that line item and making it 80,000 by taking 130 out of the mayor proposed cuts and an additional 70. That was her first proposal. The second proposal is item 5130, which is on page 3 of the special education budget. Back one. It's the very top one. It is for para overtime. It's for special education students participating in sports or after-school activities. We have not used it since 2008, yet it is budgeted for. The proposal was to eliminate that item and deal with it on an as-needed basis. So her second proposal for item 5130 was a $25,000 reduction. We have now moved to item 5320, which is on the same page. 2 down from that, professional education services. She has made a proposal, Ellen and Fiona have made a proposal of a $10,000 reduction there. Now you're up to speed and she's still going.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next is account number 5330, still under the special education budget, cut by $3,225, professional development.
None is being used this year. Projected spending is 0, so she's proposing to remain at a 0. Okay.
Next is 534002, hospital tutors, proposing to reduce it by $8,000. Again, same scenario, if you look at the history and experience we've used in that account, we've got a lot in the budget.
Our current year-to-date spending for this calendar year is $903.21. There's $10,500 that is in the budget. Okay, 8,000 on that one.
8,000 reduction.
Okay.
Next is 5430, repair equipment, $20,000 reduction.
Same thing again, current 2011 was a 0, 2012 was a 0, current year is 18,000, budgeted is 39. Okay.
Next is special education budget again, account number 5510, special education student transportation. I'm proposing a cut of $150,000 to that. Same logic behind experience and what we've used compared to what we've spent this year and what we're projecting for next year. I'd like to see that cut by $150,000.
Okay.
In the same line, account number 551001, special education transportation for summer school, I'd like to cut by $15,000. Next, 5100-05, postage for Torrington High School, $2,000. The rest of the schools are using our direct mail system. I would like to see the high school also use our direct mail system, so I would like to remove the $2,000 in postage for that purpose.
What's that number again, Fiona?
It's 5530.04, postage. It's the third one down on page 4 of the special education budget. And it is,
Okay.
you got it? Okay. 2,000.
2,000 from the high school specifically.
It's on page 10 of the regular budget.
Next is account number 5550, binding and printing for special education. I'd like to see that cut by $500 based on experience and what we've used in that account and what we're budgeting for. Next is 5563-01, special education tuition detention center. I'd like to cut by $25,000.
Same logic. We have a current year-to-date spending of 9,000 and we have a budget of 48,000.
Somewhere in the middle. Next is 5100-10, Board of Ed regular ed tuition, a cut by $42,300.
That's under account number 5563.02, bottom of page 4. It would be the third one in that column. It's at 138,000. There is $95,700 in the mayor overly conservative estimate. If If you look back, it's, the funding, you can see it. So that 42.3 would be a removal of the entire item. We haven't used it in the past. It's again a mandate that's coming down that's not necessarily in place yet.
Next is account number 5580, special education travel. We'd like to reduce that by $1,000. Next is special education student services, instructional supplies, 5610-01. We'd like to reduce that by $5,000. Same type of logic. And then also 5610-05, special education student service non-instructional supplies. Would like to also reduce that by $5,000. And in the same line, account number 5746, special education instructional equipment, student services, a reduction of $10,000.
5746, it's on page 6 of 7 of the special education budget.
What was the reduction?
10,000. Then account number 5811, entry fees, a reduction of $1,500. We haven't used it 3 years. Next, account number 5890, miscellaneous expenditures, cut by $1,000. If you look at the history of what we've used over the last 3 years, in 3 years we've only used 1,000. So I'd like to cut the 1,000 and leave it at 1125. And moving off of special education and into facilities. We've done some changes to the middle school energy things, and we've seen some savings, so I would like to cut 5622, our electricity account, by $75,000. And also 5621, our natural gas, by $75,000.
Those are both on page 10 of the regular budget.
How much on electricity?
75 on each, natural gas and electricity.
With the improvements we've done at the schools, we're looking at a year-to-date this year balance. Most of it's due to the advancement of the chillers and the lighting at the middle school, but we have a projected $100,000 surplus in natural gas and $130,000 surplus in electricity. Appreciating that we didn't have a brutal winter. That would, so $230,000, that would take $150 of that away.
Should leave us a $70,000 buffer.
Wouldn't it be better to reinvest that money back into the other schools, continue those types of improvements? Because going forward, I don't see the fact that things are going to become easier for our budgeting process. So taking it out now, instead of reinvesting it, doesn't help us in the future.
We
On
can't
that line
take
item.
operating capital and use it for, we can't take operating funds and use them for capital. We would have to increase our capital budget. You can't transfer these line items into capital.
So this is simply out of operating.
This is just our operating budget right now. So, this is our usage. So we're looking at our operating only at this point. So we can't take that savings, slide it over the cap.
Okay.
I thought you said we were gonna do $288,000 in capital improvements that we were projected to do. next year, we're gonna do them this year?
Yes.
With surplus money. Surplus money from where?
You're looking at 230,000 right there.
So what did you just tell him?
No, they're doing,
I'm not saying you can't do it, I just don't understand.
No, in next year's budget, we have, if we want to reduce our operating, if we want to increase our capital budget, that's a conversation we can have in a few minutes to increase our capital. We can't carry extra money in the operating budget just to do capital improvements.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so this isn't money we have on, we're talking about next year's money.
Right.
So we're looking to reduce next year's expenditures based on the history of savings in those line items. We could always make a proposal to increase the capital budget, but as far as operating.
$150,000.